Hi everybody, my name is Maria Teresa and I'm going to talk about my second essay. I'm mostly going to talk about Fernando de Cislo, who is a Peruvian painter. I started doing my essay based in the task which was research an artist, designer, architect whose work is heavily influenced by where he or she comes from, or what her racial or gender identity is. My research question, or at least like the phrase I'm going to use as a heading on my essay, will be factors molding Cislo's genesis encountered in his actual work. In my different resources, I found 5 different keywords, which I had to research in order to know what they meant. One of those was Genesis, where I found it on André Breton's book, who is a poet. And so Genesis is this psychological vantage point of the artist, his notion of reality, his choice of subject, the means rather than the degree of execution intent. So, yeah. Genesis, it was a quote by André Breton, who is a poet, and basically he is like the father of all vanguardism. So he mostly developed these ideas instead of techniques and the abstract art. Then the second keyword that I chose was mostly this conflict that I found between abstract art and surrealism, because I totally knew that Fernando de Cislo is an abstract painter, but André Breton is a surrealist poet. So I wanted to look for the link between them, and so I totally had to look which was different between those two currents of arts. Do you if I ask you what's the difference between abstract art and surrealism? Do you know what's the immediate difference? Do you know it? It's difficult, but it seems that it's easy. And well, once I researched, of course there were Yahoo questions and Wikipedia direct answers, and the first difference between these two terms was the fact that surrealism paint was more a realistic. It was more realistic painting, but still it was trying to convey more. But still wanted to convey feelings and emotions. And then abstract, it wasn't realist at all. It was more to capture feelings and emotions throughout images. Then my third word is existentialism, which is a term used basically it was a term mostly used on the 1990s, early 90s, where the First War, Second War happened, so that existentialism is a term used to define the questioning of human existence. Then Latin American boom, which occurred between 1960s and 1970s. It's a term used for Latin American writers as well as painters, and it was a term to define them as more expressive in every single area in arts, a flourishing of literature, poetry, and criticism in Latin America during the 60s and 70s, when writers from this region explored new ideas and came to international renown in a way that had not happened previously. So of course, Fernando de Cislo, who born in 1925, and he started working at the 50s, he was totally influenced by the Latin American boom. So I had to research that too. My fifth word is suppressed, which means to put an end to forcibly. A synonym is subdue. I got a sentence example, which is European paintings and sculptures far suppressed in interest and overshadow the American art. Then I did the outline of my essay, which is this one, and it kind of looks messy, if you just give a first sight to it. But I totally feel confident with it because I get to understand it, and I totally divide it by indents and different colors. Yeah, pass it around. And so there are my main points. Like I've put my general topic, my research question, and then in my body I separate by different bullet points the factors that are affecting Cislo's painting. So on my essay I'll have to later on develop those. Then I've also put some examples. I've also placed some examples and what part I'm going to talk about those. And okay, so 2 challenges I found with this assessment was the first one, that Fernando de Cislo is a Latin American painter, so of course when I went to the library and I tried to look different books or resources, I couldn't find many, or as much as I thought that I would have found. Like, I just could find 2 or 3, which were articles from 1920, and of course the library didn't have those. And so with Miss Channing, I had to like look for other libraries who had these articles, but it was really difficult. So I had to, the solution, like what did I have to do was to search for broader articles or books so that I could like figure out which were the factors that were directly affecting him as an artist. Okay, and how do you overcame them? It was, well, so at the end I do have these resources which are more general information, as I said, about, it's more related about history, like the contextual historical background on those in that period of time, like the art movements and important dates happening in the period of time. And then finally, the question that I have about the process of my research paper is that because I'm basing my essay on too much historic information and like on facts and figures, like historic information that affected him as an artist and everything, I would like to know if I can adequate the structure to my own benefit. Like if I can introduce a paragraph before developing my argument, like to contextualize or to give the reader a kind of sense what I want to refer on my argument. That's it.
Can you write down the artist name on the board?
Yeah. It's kind of difficult.
Did you find a lot of the materials you were able to find were in Spanish because he is a Latin American artist?
Yeah, I do, like, those articles that were directly based on him, they were totally like in Spanish. I think I found just 1 or 2 that were in English, but then the ones that were related to like broader themes or broader subjects were totally in English, like Latin abstract art or topics like those. They were in English. But yeah. And it's really sad that I couldn't find the art store article because it was like an interview, like a direct interview with him and everything, and about the factors that were totally affecting his painting.
Other questions?
So how did the artist get influenced by the Latin American boom?
Okay, yeah. I forgot to explain that part. Like the Latin American boom, like this term surged because of the different, what was the word for where the military, like,
Juntas? Military coups?
where the military go and like take the government.
Yeah, junta.
Well, how?
They're different. Junta. Junta.
Yeah, junta.
Military takeovers, military
Yeah,
occupation.
military takeovers. like in the 50s, 60s, there were like Latin American was there was a lot of military and political struggle, so a lot of problems there, like the Cuba Revolution, um, the Chavez, the Chavez president, then a lot of things that were like one after the other. So of course, it was like our Latin American war, you know, in that period of time. Like, as in United States was a world war, ours was like these little different revolution wars. So this definition is like for Latin American countries. So yeah, I totally had to research more about that and like what this term meant at all, and like how this different revolution affected the artistic view and everything. So it's of course a factor that affected him.